Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. A minister from Aberdeen is the latest to resign from the Church of Scotland over its stance on homosexual clergy. The Revd Dominic Smart, who is minister at Gilcomston South, is planning to start up a new church in a local hotel, and it's expected that the majority of his congregation will move with him. Revd Smart said that there was a great unity and strength within the congregation, but added that the Kirk's position left him with no choice.
We felt the Church of Scotland was moving away from what the Bible teaches and what Christians all around the world and throughout the history of the Church have always taken it to teach on same-sex partnerships.
Staying in Scotland, and the words mother and father are set to be dropped from Scottish matrimonial law under Alex Salmond's plans to redefine marriage. Official documents which accompany the Scottish Government's draft bill spell out plans for legislation to use the gender-neutral term parent. The Scottish Government says the proposal is part of an ongoing policy of using gender-neutral terminology in new legislation. But Gordon Wilson, the former leader of the Scottish National Party, has described the proposals as stupid. He said, "The politically correct elite are going mad. They are going far beyond what people envisage." And Norman Wells of the Family Education Trust said, "Under these proposals, marriage is not so much being extended to same-sex couples as being taken over by them." The Welsh Government has come in for criticism from church groups this week over its proposed bill to introduce presumed organ consent. The bill, which would mean everyone is considered a willing donor when they die unless they have stated otherwise, was debated at a committee of Assembly members this week. Geraint Hopkins from Churches Together in Wales said, "The positive ethos of donation as a free gift is endangered by an ill-judged, if well-intentioned, proposal to move from voluntary donation to presumed consent." Other representatives from patient groups and the medical profession also voiced concern. Meanwhile, the British Medical Association in Scotland has called for the issue of presumed organ donation to be debated there, claiming such a move would better reflect the views of the Scottish people. A Holyrood committee has said it will look into the idea of introducing an opt-out system. A gunman in America who opened fire in the offices of a family campaign group over its opposition to gay marriage has pleaded guilty to armed terrorism. Floyd Lee Corkins II targeted the Family Research Council last year after it was designated a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Centre. The gunman burst into the building in Washington, D.C. and began shooting, but an unarmed security guard who had been shot in the arm managed to overpower the shooter before he could do more harm. Corkins faces a maximum of 30 years in prison. Comic giant DC is facing calls to sack a new Superman comic writer because he believes marriage should be between a man and a woman. Gay rights activists in America are angry that Orson Scott Card is a board member of a group that supports traditional marriage. A petition organised by homosexual lobby group All Out has been signed by more than 10,000 people and calls on DC to drop Mr. Card because of his involvement with the National Organisation for Marriage. But DC Comics have said, "As content creators, we steadfastly support freedom of expression." However, the personal views of individuals associated with DC Comics are just that, personal views, and not those of the company itself. Baroness Warsi has said that religious people should be able to publicly practice their faith because people who do God do good. The Minister for Faith and Communities was speaking in Parliament at the publication of the annual Church and Community Involvement Survey. The Baroness said that religious groups can often reach areas of need that the government can't. Her comments come as new research shows the scale of Britain's increasing dependence on faith groups to meet social needs in times of recession. The report also recognises that churches provide millions of hours of unpaid volunteer work on social projects each year. The Baroness commented, "Too often we overlook the practical manifestation of faith, the mother and toddlers groups, the school assemblies, the fundraiser days. People who do God do good." In other words, very often faith is the basis for good deeds. It influences, it inspires, it impels at every turn. And finally, a Christian farmer who literally planted an idea 20 years ago has seen his vision come to pass. Peter Gunner planned and planted thousands of trees to create a maze that would spell out a Bible verse when viewed from above. As the trees grew, he carefully pruned them so their message would be clear. The words from John 14:6 read, "Jesus, I am the way, the truth and the life." Mr. Gunner, who lives in Chiddingly, East Sussex, said, "The idea just came to me one day. In a way, the maze is a lot like life. Nobody knows what it looks like from above. You can wander through life confused when in fact it does make sense from a different perspective." Mr. Gunner added, "Every time I see a plane go over, I look at it and say a little prayer. I hope somebody sees the maze and feels inspired." Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.